But we come now to a quotation from Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. And in this quotation there's an important lesson for us. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in his book, which is the explanation of Al-Wasitiyyah, he said that there was a group of people called the Sumaniyya. A group of people called the Sumaniyya. Now these people are a group of Hindus. They are like a branch of Hindus from India. And they came to Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala. They came to Abu Hanifa. And they began to debate with him with respect to a creator. Whether there's a creator or not. And Abu Hanifa, as we've already established, was one of the very intelligent scholars. And he said, so they had an agreement, and he made a promise that we will meet together and we will have a debate on this issue. So then they came at this meeting place, and then Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, he came and he said to them, they said to him, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? So he said to them, I'm thinking of something that I saw. I'm thinking of a ship. And this ship is full of merchandise and food. It's full of merchandise and food. And I can see that it's coming and moving, sailing and coming to a port. And then what's happening is that the goods and the merchandise are being removed off the ship, and then the ship is going again. And then it's coming back again with more merchandise and more goods, more food, and it's being taken off onto the port, and then the ship is going again. And all of this is taking place without anyone steering the ship, and nor any porters who are taking off the goods off the ship. This is what I'm thinking of right now in my mind. This is what I'm thinking of. So he put this to them, and so these Hindu Sumaniyya, they said to him, Are you really thinking of this in your mind? Are you really thinking this is possible? And he said, yes. He said, yes, of course I am. And then they said to him, you have no aql. You are a man with no intellect, with no aql. And they said, can it be understood that a ship and a boat can come like this, be steered, and the goods and merchandise are taken off, and then it goes again? He said, this is something this is not understandable, which means that you don't have any intellect. So then he responded to them and he said to them, how can you not understand this? How can you not understand this example that I've just given to you? When at the same time, you understand and you think in your minds you are thinking of the heavens and the earth and the sun and the moon and the stars and the mountains and the trees and all of the animals and all of the men. All of this, you are thinking of this in your mind, that all of this is without a creator, without a maker. Right? So what I'm thinking in my mind is insignificant compared to what you are thinking in your mind as to how the universe is operating and how you see all these things around you, which everything works in order and regulation. There are wisdoms in everything. So he basically put this across to them and said that you are the people who've lost your minds. You are the people who are deficient in your minds. So when they got this answer, they knew that Abu Hanifa, he responded to them in the same way that they were trying to ridicule Abu Hanifa. So therefore they were unable to answer him. Because if you're using an argument against someone, and that argument is counter-argued against you in an even stronger way, you've got no answer. It's impossible for you to answer. So they knew that he had obviously overwhelmed them. Now, this story, there's an amazing benefit in this story. You have to really pay attention to some benefits that we can take from this story. This story is crucial and important because we can see the difference between the argument of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala in establishing and proving a creator on the one hand, because he's used an argument which is rooted in the Quran. So the difference between the argument used by Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala and the argument used by the people of kalam, the ilmul kalam, the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila and the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. Because the Maturidiyyah, they ascribe themselves to Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala. But their theology, the aqidah that they are upon, it is founded upon something that Abu Hanifa was not upon and was never upon. Right? So, Abu Hanifa, he argued, how did he argue? He used an evidence in which in the Quran we call it the evidence dalilul ikhtira'. Dalilul ikhtira' and dalilul inayah. Right? This is an evidence in the Quran for the existence of a creator. The evidence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala originating things and creating things, and the evidence of Allah's perfection and skill in the creation. So this argument used by Abu Hanifa was from this angle, and it is taken from the Quran. Now, if you look at the people of kalam, the ahlul kalam, the ilmul kalam, the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, the Ash'aris and the Maturidis who ascribe themselves to Abu Hanifa, you will see that they have made, and remember at the beginning we spoke about something called the usuluddin. Right? So from their foundations of the religion is that they have used an argument to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which in its foundations, it goes all the way back to Aristotle. Aristotle is a Greek philosopher who was present before the time of Isa alayhi salam, 322 BC. So this man was a misguided star worshipper, an idolater, and he wrote much about the natural world and about many different sciences. And in his books, he also spoke about, he spoke about the existence of a first cause, and he used a certain language, bodies, accidents, ajsam, a'rad, and all of this type of language. This is what came to the Muslims in the 2nd century after Islam. This is what became the foundation of ilmul kalam. This is what Jahm bin Safwan and the Mu'tazila and later the Maturidis and the Ash'aris, they all began to use this baggage and this terminology and this science. They began to use it in debates and arguments. And then they used this language in order to to create a way of arguing for the existence of a creator. Right? They used this language. And so this method, what they invented, is something that Jahm bin Safwan and the Mu'tazila, they are the ones who brought this method. And they began to debate against atheists, but in a way different to how Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala was arguing. Abu Hanifa took this method from the Quran. The Ahlul Kalam took their methods and their foundations from the philosophers, the Greek philosophers and other people besides them. So in this story, because we hear this story often, you will hear this story mentioned. Who's heard this story before? Put your hand up if you heard this story. Have you heard this story before? Yes, many people have heard this story before. This means that this story is known and widespread, but there's an important lesson in this, in that we see that Abu Hanifa is unlike the people of Kalam who ascribe to Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala. And this story is an evidence and a proof of that. And then we see there are other narrations from some other scholars. For example, it was said to a Bedouin, it was said about a Bedouin, how do you know about your Lord? How do you know your Lord exists? He said that tracks on the ground, they are an evidence of the traveler. So traveling tracks on the ground, they are an evidence for the one who is traveling. And likewise, when you see the camel droppings in the desert, they are an evidence of the camel. They are a direct evidence of the camel. And likewise, when you see the sky, and you see the valleys, and you see the oceans, all of these are evidence of the one who is As-Sami' Al-Basir. Right? So here, this is another type of evidence similar to the one that Abu Hanifa used. And all of this is different to the philosophical, the deep, the long-winded, complicated methods that nobody even understands. Nobody even understands those methods which are used by the Ahlul Kalam, the people of Kalam. What you find in the books of the Ash'aris, what you find in the books of the Maturidiyyahs, right? All this, if you were to start using this word, you wouldn't know what on earth is going on. There are attributes in bodies, and attributes always come after bodies, and therefore that means the bodies are hawadith, and hawadith means that they came. This language, 99% of the people won't understand what on earth is being spoken of when you start mentioning all of this nonsense. And that's why the people of Kalam, they say themselves, like Al-Ghazali and Fakhruddin Al-Razi and other people, they say that if we were to start speaking to the average common person with this language that we write in our books, and we start saying to them, Allah is not a body, He's not an accident, He's not an event, He's not in the universe, He's not outside the universe, He's not above, He's not below, He's not in a place, He's not in this. If we came to the people and started using this language, 999 out of every 1,000 would become atheists. They wouldn't accept a Lord and a Creator who's described in this way. This you find written by Al-Ghazali in one of his books. You find Al-Razi saying the same thing. So the point being here is that Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he was not from the people of Kalam. He was not from the people of Kalam. And those who ascribe to him, who come after him, who came centuries after him, from the Maturidis, then they ascribe things to him which he is free and innocent of, and which can never be found in any of that which is narrated from him, or that which he is claimed to have written.